Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Mogobe, welcome to this exciting, invigorating, and as usual, life-changing episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. I'm pleased this morning that we've reached 3,000 subscribers, and I hope that you will subscribe if you haven't done so already. My guest today is Imelda Morupule, who's going to talk about all matters relating to interior design. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Just tell the viewer who you are, share your background. That would be nice to kick off our conversation.
All right. Well, I am Imelda Morupule, like you said. I'm married. I stay here in Gaborone with my husband. I'm an interior designer, studied in Limco, and I've been in the industry for the past 10 years. What I can say is it's an interesting career, just like fashion. It has trends and we want to keep people up to date. I'm also very passionate about education, hence I'm here today.
You say that, you mentioned to me that interior design helps lift spirits. What do you mean, and can you give examples?
Think about yourself. You wake up in the morning, you stay at home the whole day without a bath, you didn't brush your teeth, you didn't open the windows. How do you feel?
Terrible.
Or you come to work like that without wearing proper attire for the duty. So interior design in a way also determines your mood. It determines your capacity to your output in a way. So it really affects the human demeanor in a way.
Okay, and you've been actively in the industry for what, 10 years now?
Yeah, I started my first job January 2010. Yeah.
And then how does interior design compare to interior architecture? Or is it one and the same?
They are, I would say, brother and sister. The architect does the exterior of the building, and the interior designer does the interior.
Okay.
But we work hand in hand. Like you would want to have a bedroom, but you are a feng shui person. You don't want the light to come in this way. You want to sleep facing east and stuff like that. So the interior designer will come in to say that the architect, don't put the window here, put it this side, because here, this is where we're going to put the chair. We want a mirror on this wall. So this mirror, this wall shouldn't face the door, because Setswana or any other culture would say, don't let the mirror face the wall. So the interior designer comes in to these little aesthetics that helps you at the end of the day to have a house that talks to you, that calms you down and stuff like that.
That's interesting. Why shouldn't the mirror face the wall?
A mirror reflects. So just like running water, Koreans would say you should boil your water and leave it overnight, then you drink it the following day, even in the Hindu culture. So if you drink running water, you are drinking wherever it's coming from, because it absorbs energy. It will bring that same energy into you and destabilize you. So the same with interior design. Whatever you do, it reflects. Our spirits are very open to receive. Even if we ignore or we don't care about these things, but they do affect our well-being.
Now, let's talk functionality, because that's the first point, to focus on functionality.
Yeah.
I suppose before you talk about aesthetics, you talk about functionality.
Yes.
Why is that important, and how do you address it as an interior designer?
Functionality is important. As you can say that you've built a house, and let me give an example with your lounge. It's for watching TV and for receiving guests. But then you clutter it with a lot of things. You put things that are not supposed to be there. So as an interior designer, we make sure that you use the space for what you created it for. Yes.
And in terms of people saying that you don't really need an interior designer, you can figure things out for yourself. What would be an argument in favor of your profession?
We all say that about a lot of things, like people who build houses for themselves. We always have to come in and rescue them. They have wasted a lot of money because once you take a wrong route, somebody's going to destroy your vision or your idea. You pay them, and then I have to come in and fix that. You spend money on material, you've lost time, you've lost a lot of things. So it's better to involve an expert from the beginning, get the satisfactory job, and then you also saved money and time, and you've gotten your money's worth. So interior design is not a waste. Just like you would get an accountant. I can do my logins at home. I can take my receipts, put down what I bought, do my budget, but then a financial advisor would be better because they've gone extensively into the field. They know about investments, insurance, and all of that. So what an interior designer would offer you is not what you would get from yourself because you haven't studied. We went to school for a few years. We have the experience, so things like pitfalls, we can help you to dodge them wherever possible.
Could you give an example of a situation where you assisted a client avoid a major pitfall because of interior design?
Situations like budget issues. You are a person who likes high standards, but you don't have that budget. Yeah. So in that case, I come in as the interior designer. I use my expertise to say, okay, things like wardrobes, your kitchen cabinets, you don't have to go and get those in wood. You can make them in concrete. So as the builder is building, we can do your kitchen cabinets, the surround, even your bed. We just do a square base for your bed, and you get a mattress. How comfortable is that? You get a nice mattress. A base is a base. All you want is stability. So your side tables, you can do them in concrete. So cement is cheaper than the wood. So we do your house in that way, and even according to your brand or what you want. And that way we have saved you money in buying furniture. So you end up fitting like doors only in the kitchen, in your bathroom, and all of that.
Okay. Yeah. How important is lifestyle and branding when determining what to design in terms of the interior that you want for a client?
Come again?
How important is the lifestyle of your clients and the brand, their brand?
Mr. Mogobe is a brand. If you have to invite your mentees to your house and they find something that is not looking like what you are wearing or what you are having in your office, they will be disappointed. We are all living up to a certain standard that we have made the society to see. So by all means, your brand, we see it in the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress. So even your home or your space is very important in terms of uplifting your brand. Yeah.
Now, to what extent have Botswana embraced interior design? In your experience, is it something that they're keen on?
I would say they are coming up, right? From the 10 years that I've been in the industry, I've seen that those who have money, they did call out for an interior designer. And recently, even those without the budget are still calling out to say, I really need to change my space with the little budget they have. So I could say they are coming up to appreciating and paying for interior design services, and it can only get better from here.
I want to drill a little deeper on the spiritual side of things, where you emphasize that it's important. There's an element of, I don't know whether you call yin and yang, balancing the spirits, and there are those who say karma works and things like that. How does all that spiritual talk, mumbo jumbo, come into interior design?
Yes, with interior design, just like history, it was part of our modules when we learned interior design. We like to deny or be aloft to a lot of things, but they are reality. So you need to study culture because what do you call it? The ways our old people or other cultures have adopted, it must have been for a reason. You could be in a space and you are always feeling dizzy or claustrophobic, and it's to do with your environment. So getting rid of that object or the direction you're facing, like when you're sleeping, our ancestors would say, don't face sleeping where the dead are sleeping. It could affect you. The North Pole, the East Pole, this and that. So it's things that are there, and you just need to educate yourself. And in our space, we do try to educate ourselves so that we can tell the client that why don't you turn your bed like this? Maybe you get better sleep at night. Yeah.
Well, where should the bed be facing?
I listen to a lot of people. Some would say you should face east. Others would say face northeast, but never face south.
And the
So
reason
what-
for that?
It's where the dead people are facing. And then it would pain your heart, like Mr. Mogobe would say, I've been in this, I've been building, but then your house, you build a double story, and the only wall that you can place your bed at now is south. So how do you deal with such a thing? That's why you need to at least consult an interior designer, even on a dialogue, if you don't want to have them do the job, to say, okay, my bedroom, this is what I'm envisioning. I like a peaceful sleep. I like clean lines, stuff like that. So we advise, we say, go this route, go this route. So we consult, we indulge in the project if you want us to, and also project management. We also procure. So you can come to us at different levels.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there such thing as a unique Setswana interior design? Is there anything that is uniquely Tswana about interior design, or we've adopted other cultures?
That's an interesting point. I've recently thought about Imelda's or House of Kumi's interior design style. That how could we penetrate the international markets? Like if you go on YouTube or Google, you'd find that there is Scandinavian style, there is the Korean style, there is the French style. So what about us? So as a designer, it is my duty to now research to say what elements of the Tswana culture can I bring into our space, looking at our hearts and all those things, to say that this is a typical Tswana style that I would want in my house. Because these days when I go into somebody's house, you'll find that they've put reeds there, Nkwana there, but is that really representing as well?
It's better than nothing.
I don't like that.
Yeah. You don't like that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks cheap, but if you do it well and put thought into it, I think we could come up with a good.
You're saying, in other words, you're saying that the culture is there,
Yeah.
but it still has not really been tamed, as it were,
Yes.
cemented.
Yeah.
For instance, if I were to take this boardroom or this place and start putting kotla sticks or poles around,
Yeah.
would that enhance the room? Would that create Setswana kotla environment? Or
It does to a certain level, but as you know, design, you need to really break that Nkwana and bring it back to life, so that somebody, when they look at it, they say, wow, this is Setswana, but it's also nice. As a Chinese open person, I can also adopt this thing.
okay.
Yeah.
I was talking about the kotla, having that sort of oval setup
Yeah.
for a boardroom. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
It does. You look at the materials that are appropriate for the boardroom first. You keep the shell, like the kotla, but then if somebody is sitting down, like kotla is the bench or that reclined, but how are you going to bring that into the boardroom? Because boardroom is a serious place. So that's where the designer comes in now, to say, how do we keep the originality, but still we cater for the environment that we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cost savings and safety. How do those two considerations feature in your assisting your client, or in coming up with a brief for a client?
Yeah. Cost savings, I would say that, like the example I just gave you, if you would want to build a house that is long lasting, that is quality, we are now going into using natural materials like wood. You would go into shop, you buy plastic stuff at a high price, and then 5-10 years down the line, you have to restock. So advising clients on using natural, hard and quality
Something
material.
like this.
Yes, you use solid wood, you use mortar and tar, your cement, you use stone in the kitchen. And then, what was the second point again?
I wanted to know about safety.
Safety, yes. Safety, we go into health as well. In the kitchen, you can't just use anything on the surface, because when chemicals meet with other materials, they react, and over time they give you cancer or some kind of disease that develops over time. So you need to use resistant materials like your resilient stones, your granite, your scissor stone in certain areas. And then also just the safety of the kids. If you're gonna have a family, what type of couches, tables, and the walkways in your house, are they open enough for the kids to be able to play? The paint that you're using, is it toxic? Is it wipeable? All those things, we've been taught those things, and we are able to educate the client to say, hey, don't buy this, buy this. And you are saving a life and you're saving costs at the same time.
Okay, you're even saving a life. That's very good. Now, creating a great first impression. Some people say that the costlier it is, the better it is. Others argue that spending for its own sake, buying expensive stuff, doesn't get you where you want.
Yeah.
So I really want you to discuss the idea of creating a first impression and link it to costs.
First impression, I would go back to the example of dressing. If you have an employee that you just have hired here, they don't have money, and they just have that one shirt and one trouser, what would you tell them? Wash it and iron it properly. Yeah. So the budget that you have, or the thing that you want to achieve, do it well. Yes.
So that I thought you'd go deeper in terms of explaining. Let's take an office setting, like the reception.
Yeah.
What are the key ingredients that you look for that you think are important?
Okay, a basic reception would be when you enter, you'd want to see, have I arrived at the right place? I need to see Lerumo Mogobe when I enter the reception or outside the building, if the building is yours. But if it's an office place where there's a lot of other companies, you need to say I've arrived, and then you need a presentable table and a chair. Don't think about the person walking in, also think about the person sitting there. They sit here for 8 hours. Is the chair ergonomically okay for them to be sitting?
What does
there?
ergonomically mean?
Ergonomically means that is the body in a comfortable position, and over time will the sitting position not affect the person's bones or muscles or whatever. Yeah. And then you need to think about, if a customer comes in and you are not around, where are they going to be sitting? So you need to have a couch or a table for the visitors. You want to do marketing, have a stand or a table for your flyers, and have some refreshments.
And do those colors have to comport with your brand? Obviously.
In a way, you would want that as the owner, but you can keep everything neutral and bring in color with like small things that are movable, because color sometimes irritates people. And people react to it differently. Okay. So I always advise people to keep the space neutral, and then bring in colors with things that you can easily change, or like your ornaments and your accessories.
Can you explain how color irritates people?
Color, just like the Feng Shui concept, has different meanings and a way of making people feel. Like red, the reason why Hungry Lion, Coca-Cola, and all these other food companies use red is because when you see red, you feel hungry. So imagine you have red in your reception. How is your receptionist feeling? That's why they eat a lot. So if your logo has red in it, you need to have it there, but in a small amount. Okay. And then blue would make you feel calm. Brown is also a natural color which brings in the calmness. Yellow, it's a bright color that excites you and wakes you up. So you want to discuss with somebody who understands these things, that this is what I want in this room. So will it be okay for me to just make this yellow, the whole of this wall yellow, or how should we do this thing?
That's very interesting, because one of our colors, it's black, and then white, and then we also have sort of orange, orange. What does that communicate?
Black is an elegant color, but if not properly used, it could destroy the environment. So you need to use it thoughtfully. It's a very nice color, and it's safe. And then orange, it's a subtle color that helps you to like relax. Yeah. And then the other one you said?
White.
White. White is the perfect color because it it complements all the other colors, and it's a safe color. It's also clean. Yes, but you must use them properly. If you don't use them properly, the space might seem claustrophobic or too heavy.
And what does it take to really put it all together? There's a lot of thought. Do you have to consult and research, go in the library to get the right brief and the right combination for a client?
Exactly. You need to research, like I'm saying, your typical interior designer would know what color does to a human being, and then they would also know patterns. Because if you have a pattern on this wall, there's a lot of circles that are coming out, like sort of a hole. You've done that on your wall with black and white. As soon as a person walks in, how do they feel? So we were taught all these different elements, and when we put them in together, we make it 3D for you so that you appreciate the space before we actually do it, and that helps you to now see into the future that this won't work.
So you learned all this from Limkokwini here in Gaborone, or you went to the Malaysian one?
I was here in Gaborone. Most of it comes from experience, really. At school, they just teach you the basics, like I'm saying, what is color, what is texture. Yeah.
Good interior design affects the mood of the home and the people. And you talked about a receptionist going hungry. Obviously, you want them to be in a happy mood. So what would be the combination of colors and the good interior design that you suggest that would keep the office or even the home happy?
Yeah. Like I'm saying, each room or each space has its job. So for the reception, what do you want to achieve? So if the client tells me this is what and what I want to achieve, then I go to my colors, I pick the colors, or if they're already there, I should be able to extract how much color do I need to put here so that it will be good for everyone. So the red, I would say let's paint the whole office white and put your color as red. It's behind the receptionist, she's not able to see it, but the client, when they come in, they're able to see it. You still have your red, but it's not at a disadvantage to anyone. And we can put a small vase next to her that is red. You still have your colors there.
Then she'll be happy all day.
Yeah.
And then at home?
At home as well. I've worked with a client who loves red a lot, and she wanted to buy a red couch. She had already bought red curtains, and I told her no. We are not going to buy another red thing unless if you sell these couches, buy neutral couches, and you can go get cushions that have red in them. Yeah. So that's how you deal with your color.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the other things you're passionate about is youth development. What's your definition of youth development, and what exactly are you doing in that area?
Youth development came about as a passion that I grew up, and I grew up in Veda, by the way, in the Kalahari area.
Yes.
So our area is a very neglected area in all forms. So the youth there, especially me, I met a computer obviously in junior school, but only during my lessons. And then I never really learned or was interested because the culture is not there. So a lot of things like reading and all of that in the villages is quite scarce. So I want to bring the opportunities to the youth that I didn't have when I was growing up, because they are our future leaders. Right now we look at our leaders and we get angry at the way they do things. It's not because they want to be like that. They were never groomed. They were never taught that we should keep this culture to have this kind of excellence. So as my community work, I want to do that, to bring them those resources so that they can have a better chance at leading us in the future.
And you tie it with your job in interior design when you talk about exposure. How are you helping the youth, or how are you blending your interior design work with your youth development work?
Well, my youth development work, I've done a social responsibility project for a primary school here in Broadest with my previous employer. We renovated a library for the primary. Yeah, so we brought together our contractors, and some donated, like Dulux donated the paint, the others donated the shelving, others the furniture, and we just redid the library because it was now a storeroom. So kids could now come in and be excited to read, and yeah.
So that was a good project that was very
Yeah,
successful.
it was.
There's a thing you define as responsibility shadowing. Can you define the term and tell me how you implement responsibility shadowing?
Well, responsibility shadowing, according to my own understanding, is just to do a program once in a while for maybe your standard 5, 6, and then your Form 2, Form 3 students. Like 2 weeks when they are closed, they could come and you ask them, what do you want to be? I want to be an entrepreneur like Mr. Mogobe. So be with Mr. Mogobe for 2 weeks. Wherever he's going, wear his suit, do what he's doing, just so that they can appreciate. Or you want to be the president. So we get the president to be with his child for 1 week. You want to be a counselor or a minister. Do you know what that entails? You want to be a chef. So you take them to these different professionals and they shadow just to have an appreciation of the real world. That also helps them to make their career decisions properly. They want to be a doctor, let them go to ER. Yeah.
Have you actually executed on that, and how do you go about actually implementing it?
I'm still in negotiations and talks at this moment. What I would like to do first, I've just been telling these boys that I want to go to these places, like to the ER, get permission to film an operation, go to Choppies, to the kitchen, film, and all these professions, and have the kids watch these things. Once now they are accustomed and interested, that's when we can go to the job shadowing to say, oh, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a doctor. Take in about 30 students, bring them to town and have them that week job shadowing, and then take them back. It's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's very interesting work. And are you doing this via a foundation or a trust or any kind of charity organization?
I'm looking to register my own non-profit organization. Currently, I'm just operating it as a WhatsApp group so that I can spot a few kids that are that I can mentor and also probe to be saying, you should do this, you should do that.
And where is the main focus? Is it Veda or it's also here in Gaborone?
I would like to start in my village, and then if it works well, it can be rolled out to all other towns and villages.
Okay. And let's talk about capacity building, and I really want you to link it with your profession. For instance, are you actually bringing these youngsters in as you're performing as a interior designer to try and interest them in what you do as well?
Yes. Part of my business is manufacturing and events. So when I do have an event, I try to bring in for them to do the labor, to actually run around and do stuff so that they get the interest and they learn. And when we do furniture, I do allow them to come to the workshop to learn the tools and how to actually make something that somebody can buy. So it's just having open doors for them to do the job while they're learning.
Okay. I suspect the naysayers will say you're exploiting these kids.
No,
how do you deal with such negative criticism? It's not coming from me, by the way.
These days, experience is everything. Once you're good at doing something, that's all what people want. They don't care about your looks and other things. So if you don't expose a child to something while they're young, you're not protecting them. You are blocking their future. In America, if the parent wants the child to be a good footballer or a ballerina, they start them at kindergarten. So having a Form 4 student coming in for 2 weeks to learn the job, that's
a plus.
Yeah.
So you can deal with that criticism comfortably.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about goal setting, but I want you to tell me your goals and ambitions for your company, for the interior company. If I give you a crystal ball 5-10 years down the line, what do you see? What are you projecting?
For Gumi, I just want to have our own local furniture supplier that has a shop, a showroom, to manufacture furniture locally, because we buy almost everything from South Africa or China. So we have a problem now of material. So tackling that problem of the material would
So you want to manufacture, but you don't have the material.
Yeah, our things get expensive because getting the material here and putting the markup and all the logistics ends up making my table expensive. So as an interior designer, I need to now go back and liaise with people who are able to plant stuff, and so that we get our own raw materials, or maybe look at what we have already to see if we can make something out of our natural materials here. We have a lot of soil. How can we make that into furniture? So Kumi wants to have a plant, we want to have a showroom, and we want to be one of the interior design businesses that will be educating, taking in students to teach them on this subject.
As someone who's benefited from government funding and government programs, what would you say to the entrepreneur who out there who may want to get where you want to be and who may have similar ambitions for future of organization?
Yes. For the government programs, they are good, and we thank the government for that. But I would say when you are given something and you didn't work for it, the results are not the same as the one who went out to get their own capital. So us who have been sponsored by the government, we tend to face a lot of challenges in terms of, I don't have this, I don't have that, because initially we're given your startup. So I'll just advise the youth out there to be
resilient.
Go get if you need something, find ways of getting it. You can get it, others have done it. And so don't rely too much on the government. And also come to the government when you've worked, when you have a foundation. Don't just come to say, I want to start this business, because you're going to burn out. Yes.
And this is this leads to my next point about resilience. You've been at it for 10 years.
Yes.
Considering the results you've had and the prominence you've achieved as a designer, what role has resilience played in your success?
Resilience is needed everywhere. Right now we are in the COVID period where most of the people would be closing their doors to say, I can't do this, I can't pay rent, I can't. So you need to strategize to say, how long is this thing going to take? Maybe 3 or 5 years. How am I on my own going to be surviving this period? Because I've set goals for myself. I said that in the next 5 years or 10 years, I'll be this. So I need to really dig deep and to see how I can maneuver this thing. Yes, so you need to be really resilient.
And speaking of COVID, has it affected you directly?
A lot.
How?
Like I was saying, my business started in 2019, September. And by March, when I got my funding, I opened an office. So the first 3 months of my business, literally that's when the lockdown started. So I paid for an office for 3 months and I never got to sit in it. So when we were free to move about again, I had to close the office down or move to a smaller space. And that's when I applied for the government warehouse with Leah. And they accommodated me up until now.
Okay. Some people have said there's a thing called the COVID dividend, which I happen to believe in anyway. The whole argument being that when the borders got closed, we realized we have to do things for ourselves. And even local businesses benefited from that.
Yes.
Is it something that you experienced yourself?
Doing things for ourselves. With interior design, if we don't have glass, we don't have glass. So, and attempting to do that in such a short period of time without capital and the right network, it would be catastrophic. So on our part, we just had to explain for the clients that you want this thing and we can only get it in this place. Like I was saying, with my long-term vision, that's now when you look at production of glass, you're planting trees that can actually give us hardwood and stuff like that. It's a long-term project that we have to look into, whether it's a lockdown or not, because it affects. Botswana are not they are not I wouldn't say accepting, but they can't afford to buy the hardwood and the stone because their salaries are low and stuff like that. So in our case, we also have a problem because I've bought this wood for 1,000 pula and I can't sell it to you for less than that. So that's why most of the houses or offices are not nice because they can't afford. So it's our job to now reduce this 1,000 pula through plantations and other things.
And is it something you've started working on?
Not really, because my business is still at infancy. I'm juggling. So,
so it will require finding land to grow trees.
Yeah, the government needs to step in also. Maybe like a parastatal or something, because we need vast land. And we
have vast land.
Yeah, we have it, but he needs to release it. And maybe a private company can come in and plant the trees and look after them. The government can take part of the profits.
Maybe, who knows? This is a part of the show where you have the opportunity to ask me a question of your choosing. Go ahead.
What would I ask Mr. Mogobe? When did you start your property business?
I would say literally it was 1993 or thereabouts when I had my first house. But the first 3 properties, like the first house, the office, and even the first warehouse, were sort of in the 90s. It was only in the 2000s when I pivoted consciously to try and create a property portfolio. So I would say it's safely around 2001.
Okay.
Is when I focused on it.
And just to add on, have you ever used an interior designer before?
There was a guy when we were building this building, when we are now fitting it out, who came in. He said he's an interior architect.
Okay.
And I didn't know there was such a thing as an interior architect. And he assisted us here and there.
That's
nice. So now that I've met you, maybe we'll develop other synergies in that direction.
All right.
Okay. Could you please look at that camera, the one there, and speak to that youngster. Say something motivational, inspirational, some parting words of wisdom, as it were.
Okay, to the youngster out there, I just want to tell you to follow your heart. Wherever the troubles of this life plant you, make sure you flourish there. Just like Joseph in the Bible, he found himself in different places, but wherever he was, he could make something out of himself. So the key here is to look within yourself at all times, to develop yourself as a youth by having a mentor, first of all, and making sure that you are aware of who you are and what you want in life. And that alone will take you far in any sphere. Enjoy your day.
Wonderful. Do you want to tell them how they can get in touch with you? Any WhatsApp numbers, any social media contacts?
Yeah. Well, you can contact me on Facebook. My name is Imelda Morupule. On Instagram as well, my name is Imelda Morupule. LinkedIn as well, my name is Imelda Morupule. And my WhatsApp number is 71796657. Thank you.
And are you not going to encourage them to subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast?
Of course, please do subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets. It's a very good show. It will build you up. Like you can see me here, I've been watching him for a while, and finally I get the pleasure of sitting in front of him. So maybe also you, one day you will be sitting here. So it's only good that you watch all his other shows.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.